Janus is a super rare rarity destroyer from the Royal Navy and is a part of the J class of destroyers. She was originally released during the Fight on Royal Maids Part 3 event, but is now available through light construction. Janus was launched from the Swan Hunter shipyard on the 10th of November 1938, commissioned on the 5th of August 1939, and was sunk by a Fritz X guided bomb on the 23rd of January 1944. Janus did the usual tasks a British destroyer did in the Second World War. Here are her more interesting exploits. Sank HMS Bittern on the 30th of April 1940 after it had been damaged by Stukas. Participated in the battles of Calabria, Cape Matapan, and Tarago convoy. And was sunk by a Fritz X guided bomb from an HE-111, though some reports falsely state it was a HS-293 glider bomb. Only 80 of her crew survived the sinking, with the ship itself sinking in less than 20 minutes. In her character art drawn by Mimo, Janus wears a low-cut white dress with ruffled top and bottom, ruffles in the middle, and gold embellishments near the bottom, a red ribbon around her midsection with a key hanging off of it, a ruffled white neck piece with anchor ornament, detached white sleeves, again with ruffles, white tights, red high-heeled shoes, a crown and white ribbon in her hair, and she holds a staff with blue roses at the top. Her rigging consists of the rear of a ship hull directly behind her, as well as some armatures to her left and right. The one to her right has a twin-barreled gun and a superstructure, while the left side has a quintuple torpedo launcher and a superstructure. Around Janus fly 9 doves, with a heavenly gate that has a bell atop its arch behind her. In her voice lines, voiced by Hina Kino, who also voices Misato in Erased, Bonbi Fuji in Slow Start, Kade Kurishima in Steins Gate Zero, Ku Derika in Overlord, Yu Matsumoto in Wataten, Mikati in Kaguya-sama, Ranka Okami in Senton Academy, Floor in Kuma Bear, Kenta in Heaven's Design Team, Fa in RPG Real Estate, Alice Ramos in The Devil is a Part-Timer, Sui in Campfire Cooking, Hana Sakamoto in Sakamoto Days, the basis for a me-female voice in Metopia, and Sijuin in Genshin. Janus is quite meek.
ロイヤル所属の普通の J クラス駆逐艦のジェナスです。ここで精一杯頑張って指揮官とみんなの役に立ってみせます。まだ緊張して。大丈夫だよ、ジェナス。ただの挨拶だからきっとできるよ。指揮官。はじめまして。J クラスのジェナスと言います。突然訪れて失礼なことがありましたら申し訳ございません。今日もいろいろあったね。日記に書いて。指揮官！これはただの日記帳で。すみません！見せられません！執務室は静かで。指揮官に声をかけたら迷惑になるんじゃ。指揮官任務が。すみません。わざとこのタイミングで知らせるつもりはなかったんです。
At level 125 with max affinity and enhancements, Janus has 2,114 HP, 122 firepower, 472 torpedo, 190 AA, 237 reload, 271 evasion, light armor, 43 speed, 228 accuracy, 53 luck, 262 anti-sub, and consumes 10 oil. Janus has 2 skills and an all-out assault, which focus on buffing yourself and sometimes others. Janus's first skill, Please Take Care, at level 10, Janus buffs her own firepower, torpedo, and anti-sub by plus 10%. When the battle starts, if there are 3 or more Royal Navy ships in the same fleet as her, she deploys a barrier that lasts 20 seconds and negates damage equal to 5% of the recipient's max HP around any Royal Navy destroyers in the fleet. If the barrier is destroyed or expires, the ships that had the barrier take minus 10% damage for 10 seconds. If sortied with another J-class destroyer, all J-classes gain plus 10% firepower, torpedo, and accuracy. If sortied with Jervis specifically, 20 seconds after the start of the battle, Janus heals herself for 2.5% of her max HP. Her second skill, Charming Janus, at level 10 and every 15 seconds after the battle starts, there's a 75% chance that Janus will fire a special barrage. Enemies hit by the barrage take plus 12% more damage from destroyers and light cruisers for 5 seconds. This doesn't stack. If the barrage fails to proc, Janus instead performs a sonar scan that makes every enemy submarine detected for 8 seconds. The recommended equipment for Janus is the twin 100mm Type 98 Kai HAGM to proc her all-out assault more often, 533mm improved quad MTM for great homing torpedoes, twin 57mm L60 Bofors MLE 1951 for the best Vanguard Fleet AA gun, repair toolkit for passive healing, J-class crown for more survivability and dealing 10% more damage against non-Royal Navy enemies, and the dual swords for a buff towards firepower and evasion. Janus's utility is very similar to her sister Jervis's, where they mainly buff themselves and other Royal Navy ships, primarily destroyers and sometimes light cruisers, as can be seen by the effects of her skills. Her S1, with the paragraph of text that it is, simply buffs herself, other Royal Navy destroyers, and J-class destroyers, while also providing a barrier for Royal Navy destroyers. Her S2 fires off a barrage that makes enemies take more damage from, you guessed it, destroyers and light cruisers, or radar scans. But even with all these buffs and debuffs, there's not really much reason to use Janus, to me at least, due to all of the entry conditions that need to be met. Her S1 requires that there be at least 3 Royal Navy ships in the same fleet as Janus. Fine, sure, mixed or mono-faction fleets are nothing new. But the barrier that results from those 3 ships are only applied to Royal Navy destroyers. So Janus and maybe Jervis if you have them in the same fleet. If you're comprising your Vanguard fleet solely of Royal Navy destroyers, you need a new strategy. On the topic of J-class destroyers, the little buff at the end of her S1 is only given to them. Her S2 only has a 75% chance to proc, so 3 and 4. And we all know my thoughts on those kinds of skills. They're unreliable and typically aren't that great. Much like this one, since enemies hit by the barrage just take over 10% more damage for 5 seconds from destroyers and light cruisers, who aren't known to be powerhouses. But as a consolation prize, you get a radar scan. You know, the thing I also don't like since equipment can easily do that. And, more often than not, submarines aren't really much of an issue. If you couldn't tell, Janus is a low priority to raise. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter and Blue Sky for updates, and please check out my other Arknights and Girls Frontline videos as well.